Stephen Miller actually told us why they don't want us to see this 60 Minutes clip. Let's watch.
This is another pathetic 60 Minutes hatchet job. They're trying to tell sob stories about train to Iraq with gang members who drill holes in people's hands.
Said it. He said it out loud. It's because he doesn't want us feeling empathy for the men that they sent to CECOT. And this 60 Minutes interview didn't really tell us anything we didn't already know. We know it's a concentration camp. We know that they're torturing people there. But we saw their faces. And we heard their voices. And we heard that they didn't do anything to be sent there. It shouldn't matter, though, like whether they did anything. Nobody deserves the treatment that they went through. But if you even were a little bit convinced that somebody deserved that treatment, watching that 60 Minutes interview, if you have any empathy for human beings, would make you question that. So let's go over what was said in that 60 Minutes segment that was pulled by Bari Weiss. So the first man they interviewed was Luis Nunez. He had no criminal record. He was a college student staying in Colombia, and he had just left Venezuela, and he came to America for a safer place to live. He had no criminal record, not even a parking ticket. He was one of 252 men that were sent to CECOT between March and April. When he got there, the guard said, "Welcome to hell. We'll make sure you never leave." And 4 of them beat him. They beat him until he couldn't take it anymore, until he bled and he broke one of his teeth. Only 8 of the men that were sent to CECOT were convicted of a violent or potentially violent crime or had charges. Human rights organization cross-checked with federal databases and ICE's own records that showed only 3% of them had any charges. And that includes immigration charges. What business does Kristi Noem have saying that they're fully transparent? Maybe they think if they just say it enough, we'll be stupid enough to believe. So the other man that they interviewed was William Lozada Sanchez. He endured months of abuse. He had to be on his knees for 24 hours without moving. And if you think that's easy, I want you to get on your knees right now for this entire video and let me know how long you last without moving. If you moved, you would go to this small room called the island.
They get some water, and the only sort of light they have is this little peephole right up here, and they get absolutely nothing to use to sleep or to rest.
It had no light. It was essentially a solitary confinement room. And they would beat you every half hour with their batons, and they would also sexually assault the men. They tugged at their genitals with their hands. In the prison, there is no water. They had to drink out of the toilet or drink bath water. The water was dirty, and it would make them sicker. When they would get injured and need medical attention, the doctors would tell them to drink more water. Kristi Noem's video, we saw the men standing behind her. Not a single one of them was from Venezuela. They were from El Salvador, probably men that were already arrested and had been sent there, like gang members. These were not men that were arrested and sent here by ICE. Berkeley students combed through open source data, and they even found the room, the island that these men referenced being beaten in, because there are videos from influencers about how great CECOT is. They're showcasing the torture, the cruelty, the inhumanity of CECOT. But they don't want us to see the 60 Minutes segment.
I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face.
They're showcasing their cruelty. They should be proud of it, right? They should want us to see this 60 Minutes segment. But they don't. Why? Because if they know we see the faces and hear the voices of these men that were beaten and tortured for the crime of just wanting to be in a safer place and being born in the wrong country, we might have empathy for them. So they need to cut it off. We're sending them to a place that beats and tortures them. We'll see them as the monsters and not the men they sent there.